Okay, so we're going to venture into the often wondered and rarely discussed subject of dating and finances. Specifically, we're going to delve into when the woman in the relationship should start contributing to dating expenses. It's often assumed that men will pick up a larger portion of the dating expenses during courtship, including picking up the tab on the first date. But in modern society, when women are working and at sometimes even out earning men, this has turned this into a really complicated discussion and dance for many couples.
So obviously there's no one right answer here, but we want to offer some thought-provoking questions. The first is to ask yourself, what are you looking for financially in a relationship? While relationships can take on many forms, we think the two most relevant types to consider here are sponsorship versus partnership. Partnership is about collaboration, give and take of resources, and working together towards a shared end goal. It's typically focused on the longer term. Money is a part of it, but there are generally trade-offs across a number of areas that require negotiation, but ultimately the goal of the parties is to get to mutual alignment and shared interests across resources. Sponsorship is spending money on someone or something in the hopes of receiving a non-monetary benefit back in exchange for that spend. It can be a short or a long-term arrangement, but is generally more of a transactional arrangement. Neither is right or wrong. Both can actually be quite successful relationships for both parties or for either side. But you might want to ask yourself, which model are you pursuing or do you desire as a part of a dating relationship, and then make your decisions according to that. Second, you should consider who initiated the date. Traditionally, whoever initiated the date is also the person who plans for and pays for the date. However, you want to be careful that this isn't consistently one-sided, because initiating and planning a date is also a demonstration of interest. Third, you may want to consider who paid for the last date and what was the total expense of that last date. If, for example, the man paid for the first date and it was on the more extravagant end, you may at least want to consider offering to treat for the next date.
In any situation, if one person has been picking up the tab for the last 2 to 3 dates, it's probably time to pony up and show some appreciative reciprocation. This allows you to show that you are also interested, that you are willing to invest emotionally and financially, and that you appreciate their company more than their funding. Lastly, don't phony reach for the check. If you are going to do it, no alligator arms, be real and intentional. So in summary, while there are many factors to consider when trying to figure out what the equitable split is during the dating process between genders and or individuals, in the end, it just doesn't make sense for any one particular person to be funding the total process. And if you want to avoid creating questions or resentment, consider having a discussion to create clear norms and expectations around what conveys meaning and intent for both individuals so that you can spend your time in a meaningful and intentional way. But if you're not ready to have that direct of a discussion, just consider picking up the check by at least date number 3.